Hi everyone. Hope you're doing well. I'm doing okay. Having a chronic pain day today. Had some errands to do and some chores. Had to do some wash and some grocery shopping, and I'm paying the price right now. My back is really bothering me. So I'm just sitting in my room chilling out, playing with Jammer, who I would love to get on camera, but he absolutely hates being on camera. I just realized I wasn't looking at the camera. I'm sorry about that. My topic for tonight, I wanted to talk about our kids. Kids are awesome. I have this theory that I've had for a very long time that I wanted to share, and it's all about childhood. I have this theory that when you're born as perfect as you'll ever be, and the older you get, the less perfect you become. I think you're as close to God as you'll ever be when you're born. I think that babies are born with the face of God. I think there's such a purity and such a absolute loveliness when babies are born. And I am an adult that actually I could never have children, but I actually enjoy spending time with children and talking to them. I think they're a hoot. I don't even refer to them as kids. I call them portable people because they're like grown-ups and little tiny versions. And I love that they don't have a filter. Sometimes that can be a little iffy, you know, but I love that they shoot straight from the hip. No holes barred. I love that kids can be very fair and that when they don't understand something, they question things. And when you give them an explanation, sometimes they need a little more information and they love to ask, but why? And they're very inquisitive. But once they finally get the gist of things, they're cool with it. I think kids are very fair in nature. And I think we could all really learn a lot by being more like a kid. It's so amazing to me having conversations with kids and young teenagers and young adults, having hear their point of view of what's going on. I can remember being a kid and my mother always telling me, "Oh, I feel so bad for you. It was so much better when I was a kid." I wouldn't want to be a kid now, but I liked being a kid when I was a kid. And then now that I'm a grown up, I kind of say the same things that I used to hear my mother say. I do think in a lot of ways, the generation I grew up in, we had it lucky. We didn't have cell phones and computers, and those things are great, but we were kind of left to our own devices where we went outside and we played and we had friends on our street, and like our neighbors were looking out for us. And at least in my case, my neighbors had the right to yell at me and tell my mother everything I was doing and keeping an eye out. And it seemed like there was more sense of community. I don't know where that went to. I'm sure it still exists in a lot of areas, but I know in some areas it's not the same anymore. And it seems like kids are kind of out there on their own. And for that, it's really sad. And I think a lot of times kids' voices don't get heard. I feel like when you're very, very young or you're old, you don't have a voice. People speak for you and make decisions for you. And don't get me wrong, sometimes when you're not old enough, you do need someone to be like that parental voice to give you. Oh, I'm sorry, the lighting got bad. I hope that's a little better. Um, you need that guidance to like point you in the right direction. But I don't think kids get the credit that they're due. I think kids are a lot smarter than people give them credit for. I grew up in a single parent home. My father came and visited me a lot when I was growing up. And I always had a difficult time when he would come to visit, not when he visited, but when he left. It always hit me really hard because I never wanted to see him go. Even though I knew he had his own family and I had other siblings. And when he was with me and my brother, I knew he was away from his other kids. But it was always difficult for me to see him go because I wanted him to stay. And I know how difficult that can be. And I know sometimes people stay together for the sake of children. And I'm not here to debate whether that's a good thing or not. But I also know what it's like to grow up in a house where you know that there's no love. And I just think to stay together for the sake of kids, um, sometimes I think that you're being delusional. I think kids know a lot more than people give them credit for. And I've said it for myself. And if I've said it once, I've said it a million times. Kids would rather be in two separate homes that are happy than one home that's miserable. And kids deserve to be happy. They're awesome. And if you haven't taken the time to really sit and have a conversation with a kid, do it. Hilarity will ensue. Just hearing the way they think and their thought process is just so interesting. I know for myself when I was battling my depression in its heyday, before I was on the right medications, I would love to just sit and speak with my nieces and my nephews. I can remember one time I was really depressed and I went in to visit my nieces, and I went into my niece's bedroom and I asked if they what they were doing, and they were playing, and I asked if I could come and hang out with them. And I just laid with them and I talked to them, and I told my oldest niece I was depressed and I just wanted to hear her talk, and just hearing her thoughts and what was on her little mind and what made her mind tick, it really just lifted my spirits. It's so amazing. And now that she's an adult and children of her own, it's so amazing. It also seems odd how time seems to fly when you see it through the eyes of a child. It seems like only yesterday I was changing their diapers or helping them cross the street. And now my nieces are adults with children of their own. And it's like, I jokingly always say, wow, you guys got old, but I stayed young. I know that's not true, but it's just so strange because even though they have their own families, in my heart and in my mind, there's still those two little girls that I used to play dolls with and talk about silly little things with. And those memories just come flooding back whenever I hear something that reminds me of them. And there's kids that I come across in my work that I've, grown very close to. I have a girl that's like a goddaughter to me that I'm very, very fond of and wish all the best to. And she's going through things with bullying in school, and it's kind of a way for you to relive your childhood too, because you can use your experiences and pass that wisdom on to the next generation. It reminds me of a conversation I had with my mother once when I was being picked on, and my mother telling me how she wished she could take the pain from me. But she told me to hold my head up and be strong, that it was just a phase and I would get through it. And she was right, I did. And now I can have similar conversations with goddaughters. And it's just amazing to see how the circle just keeps continuing and continuing. And I just really felt compelled to want to talk about kids, how great they are, how they're going to run this world someday, and how they're taken for granted. And it's such a shame because they have voices that need to be heard, that want to be heard. They have ideas that need to be heard, that need to be flourished. I know our lives get very busy sometimes and we get wrapped up in our own lives. And maybe it's easier for me to be a little more compassionate because I'm not a parent. I don't know the daily stressors of having to balance taking care of a child, paying the bills, keeping up with everyday things in lives. I know time can slip away from us at times, but do yourself a favor. Stop and have a conversation with your kids. If their faces are always in their phone, grab the phone from them. Make them talk to you. See what makes them tick. Instead of complaining about the kind of music they like or the kind of movies they like, sit down and enjoy it. Oh, I'm sorry. My windows are open. Sit down and enjoy it with them. Find out what they're interested in. It's fascinating, I promise you. I'm sure most of you already know this, so I don't want to come off as preachy. But that's what was on my mind. Just how wonderful kids are. And it just seems so unfair that we're kids for such a short period of time. And to any kids that might be watching this, that are in a rush that just can't wait to grow up, please don't be in such a rush. Being a grown-up is so overrated. I mean, don't get me wrong. I want you to become a grown-up. I want you to discover all the things that you need to when the time is right. But don't rush it. You're at the best time of your life. Enjoy it. Life goes by in a snap. In the blink of an eye. There's nothing wrong with being young and keeping that wonderment in your eyes and in your sights. And those are some of the things I cherish as an adult. That I still have that wonderment. That I still have that amazement. And I still question and ask why. I never want to get too old. Where I'm always complaining that the music's too loud and those young whippersnappers. I pride myself on trying to be as cool of an old person as I possibly can. So I always try to keep in touch with the kids and find out what makes them tick and let them know that they have a voice, they have a point of view, and they deserve to be heard. So I take the time. And I think this world would be a lot better if we took the time and learned a lesson from kids. They're portable people. They matter. Their voices matter. We owe it to them. Besides, we were kids once too. Weren't we? So that's what was on my mind tonight as I'm sitting here, old and achy, wishing I was young again and pain-free, but very grateful that I'm still here in the game. I hope this video finds you well, and until I talk to you guys next time, take care, and please take the time to listen to your kids. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.